Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And y'all, I came in here today to talk about this video that I watched with Tip, Tiny, and their son King. Y'all, I know it's been a while, but after I watched this, I had some feelings about what I saw, in the video, and also what some of the comments were under the video. Now, my feelings on this whole subject are going to be all over because on some things I'm with the son King, and on other things I'm with T.I. and Tiny. So when I watched the video, the first thing that struck me is how disrespectful King was to his parents. I heard him cursing and just being real disrespectful. Now, I'm the mother of a 36-year-old and a 28-year-old. They don't even cuss in front of me, period, let alone cuss at me. So right off, I was appalled, y'all, because I got a 36-year-old son and he bet not cuss in front of me. So I was appalled, but that's just the type of mother that I am. But then I got to thinking about some of the things that King was saying. The first thing that struck me was, we all know that he's already said that they didn't raise him, that he was raised by his grandmother. Now, when he said that, Tiny had mentioned something like, well, the whole reason why you wanted to go over there is because you were such a pacifier. And then Tip said, you were crying to be with your grandmother. Now, when I heard that, to me, they sounded stupid as parents. Because, y'all, let me tell you, about 20 years ago, I moved from my hometown to another city for a job. Now, it was almost at the end of the school year, so my son was like in the 10th grade. We moved in March. Most schools get out in June. So he did not want to go. He wanted to finish up his school year in our hometown. So he asked me, could he stay with my mother? Basically, I told him, no, son. Wherever I go, you go. Our hometown is over. We need to start our new life in this new city, and you coming along. So when I thought about that, Tiny and Tip were saying that one of the reasons why he wanted to go over there is because he was 12 years old, sucking on a pacifier. The other reason was, he was crying because he wanted to be with his grandmother. Now, as the parents, you have control. You are the parents. If they didn't want him to go, he wouldn't have been there. So my question is, what was it that made them say, okay, we're going to let King go over there and we're going to let Grandma raise him? Was it the lifestyle that they were leading? They were both, into their careers and trying to build their careers, and they probably was gone a lot. I think their daughter also talked about this, being left behind as their parents were out building their careers. So with a lot of celebrity kids, that does cause a problem. But it's I guess the foundation that you build for them when you're away. I know I've watched Angie Stone's daughter, Shaka Khan's daughter, and quite a few other celebrity children talk about that when they were growing up, their parents weren't around because their parents were building that career. Now, some of them are successful. Some of those celebrity parents are successful in finding a community, group of people, family members, or whatever that gives those kids a foundation where they are raised, in a manner to which most parents want their kids to be raised. But I think with the lifestyle that T.I. and Tiny had, that probably became a problem for their kids. I heard King say, "I know you," to his dad, to Tip. "I know you." So while at some point every child needs to take responsibility for their own actions, especially once they become adults, I think this young man is 19. But my question is, how did it get to the point where he feels comfortable enough to be cursing at his parents? To be so disrespectful to his parents. It sounds like to me that there's some resentment there. Something happened between the child and this set of parents. There's been some breakdown, because normally children, young adults, they don't speak to their parents in the way that King was speaking to them. Now, as far as Tip and Tiny, I think when they were piling on, saying he was a pacifier sucker, and that, he was crying and he wanted to be with his grandmama, that wasn't a good look for them. Even though King made this whole conversation very public, there's a way as a parent that you can pull it back. You can recognize, hey, this is not something that we should be discussing as public. This is a conversation that we need to have behind closed doors, son. Now is not the time. And kind of calm the situation down, where they can sit down and talk about this seriously, because there's something underlying there. But T.I. and Tiny handled it, to me, like teenage parents. They're so busy trying to protect their image with the stuff that their son was saying, that they didn't think about, his feelings, what has gone on in the past. Now, again, this young man has been running wild for quite a few years now. So it didn't just happen now that he's 19. I remember a couple years ago, he was at Waffle House, said something disrespectful, and T.I. kind of upheld that stuff. So when you're allowing your child to be disrespectful to others, what makes you think that one day that disrespect, you won't be a target of it? T.I. kind of defended him, and in that Waffle House situation, and added his own sauce to it. So to me, T.I. and Tiny are not great examples of parents. Now that's just my opinion. I think maybe King wanted to go to the grandma because maybe he didn't like the home life that he had with them. That's a possibility. But there again, does this fall on Tiny and Tip as the parents? Look, the bottom line is, from what we know, these kids do not ask to be born. And once we as parents bring them into the world, it is our job to make sure that they are raised and raised properly. So to me, the onus is on T.I. and Tiny. Whatever way this young man is, it is their fault. He said that he didn't want to be raised behind a gate, and he wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth and all of this stuff. Now we know that when he probably was over his grandma's, T.I. and Tiny were providing for him. So a lot of what he said didn't even make sense. But he's young, he's popping off. He's young. But as the parents, at what point do you stop protecting your image, your public image, your celebrity, and realize that you have a child that has spun out of control to the point that Tip had to put him in a headlock, you know, to bring the situation back. He couldn't get him to shut up, and it appeared that Tip got mad and, for lack of better words, took the matters into his own hands by putting his child in a headlock. I just don't think that T.I. and Tiny handled this well. I think that what's going on with King has been a long time coming. You know, you can't wait to discipline and set boundaries and expect respect once they get 19. My mother told me cradle to the grave. From the moment that they can understand what you're saying to them, you need to start being a parent then. That means disciplining them, teaching them respect, and how to treat you as their parents. And you, in turn, have to be a parent to them. And like I said, T.I. and Tiny are not the only celebrity parents. There have been quite a few celebrity parents who've had problems with their children. And I guess that goes with the territory. But as parents, at what point do you say, okay, our lifestyle or whatever we've given these kids has caused some type of problems. We need to back down and take this behind closed doors, maybe get into some type of therapy. They got the money for it, you know, and make sure that our child is good. I just got the feeling that T.I. and Tiny were more worried about their reputation and looking as though their child was telling them off and spilling some of their tea, you know? And it's nothing wrong with if a child is not doing well, you know, at home with mom and dad, and the best place for them to be at a certain point is maybe with a grandmother or grandparents. That happens every day. But something else is at play here with this disrespect towards his parents. How did he get so comfortable being so disrespectful? I personally do not like Tip. I don't like him. And I used to like Tiny, but some of the things that she's done in the last few years, some of the things she said, has made me change my feelings about her. Now, while I don't dislike her, I just not feeling her like I did in the past. You know, to me, she does anything for Tip. She stays in a relationship that, to me, is not good for her. You know, you want more for her. It's obvious this girl loves this man because she takes him back and stays with him no matter what he does, what he says, how he treats her. So you also have a father, a husband, who has been disrespectful to King's mother, who has cheated on King's mother, who has clowned King's mother. So he's getting a lot of this from the way T.I. treats his own mother, you know, his own wife, this child's mother. To me, there is a lot of dysfunction going on in this family. A lot of dysfunction. All the rumors that we've heard about T.I. and Tiny, the sexual rumors, all that stuff. Do these kids know all of this? Did they witness some of this firsthand? Is this why King doesn't have the respect that he should have for his parents? Are there things that he knows about them that we as the public don't know that makes him not have respect for his parents? See, we can't just say that this is all on King. King did not create himself. You know, at one point he was a little one being raised by them and then eventually going to his grandmother. If he went to his grandmother when he was 12, his personality and who he was going to be was already developed. It didn't develop when he went to grandma. You know, you start noticing your children have personalities, and there's a difficult one and one that's easygoing. You start knowing that when they're toddlers. I think of my own too, and I will say my daughter, when she was a toddler, was a much more difficult child to control than my son was when he was her same age. You start to notice those things, and you parent different depending on the child. So by the time King was 12, who he was and his thought process when it came to his parents was pretty much already set. It was pretty much already set. The person that he is at 19 is a product of who Tiny, Tip, and even the grandmother, who they are. Sometimes I look at my kids and I see things in them that make me say, you know what, there was a lesson that I did not teach them well. I must have missed that, because this thing about her or this thing about him I don't like. I'm the one that raised them. So if they got some deficiencies, I have to take some responsibility for that. And so do Tiny and Tip. We can't put all of this on this disrespectful 19-year-old young man. Does he make you want to slap the hell out of him or tell him to go somewhere and shut the hell up and sit down? Yes, he does, because he got a lot of mouth. But my thing is, how did he get that way? When did all of this start? T.I. and Tiny need to take some responsibility and stop worrying about their reputation and what people think of, what is being said by this young man, and do something about it. Get some therapy. Go to family therapy. Work some things out, because he's going to be their child forever. And if you want a good relationship with your adult child, you have to work on it. It's not a given that everything is going to be, flowers and roses. It's not a given. Sometimes as parents, we need to admit we made mistakes. And then some of those mistakes manifest themselves, and these kids start speaking up when they become adults. Telling you things that they felt you did wrong, or how you didn't parent them the way that they thought they should have been parented. Now, sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're wrong. But none of us as parents are perfect. We all make mistakes. Like, I don't know what celebrity said this years ago. Kids do not pop out with an instruction booklet, in chapters where, okay, he's 10, let me go to chapter 10 and see what I should be doing in this 10th year of my child's life. We're basically learning on the job, as we're raising them. So if I can admit that I made some mistakes with my children and try to do better and listen to them when they tell me what they feel that I did wrong or didn't do as well as they thought I should, and not get all up in my feelings, then why can't they? Because when I look at King, he's headed for not a good life with this amount of anger that he has in him. On the one hand, I find him incredibly disrespectful, not a nice young man, quite a bit dysfunctional. But on the other hand, as a mother, I kind of feel sorry for him, because my question keeps going back, my thoughts keep going back to, how did he get this way? You know, when did this all start to happen? That's where my mind goes to, you know. And then now that we found that out, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to help him? Because he's headed for a lifetime of heartache with all this anger that he has in him. And T.I. and Tiny need to take some responsibility for what they did or did not do. You know? Because as I said at the beginning of the video, he didn't birth himself. They brought him into this world. And it was their job, as he was growing up, to make sure that he was not only financially well taken care of, you know, behind the gate, but mentally well taken care of, spiritually well taken care of, where he didn't have all this anger in him. That's just a thought, y'all. Tell me what you think about it. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video, and you will see me around these parts every so often. You guys take care and have a good night. Bye-bye.